Japan Journal, the Internet's #1 English language weekly online cybercast from Japan. Japan Journal with Mal Adams.
Rap About It with Mal Adams. Each week, Rap About It focuses on a key issue concerning American minorities. This series also explores current and topical news events in an effort to bring into sharper focus the implications of these events for the minority community. And now your host, Mal Adams.
I'll always let you know when I'm rolling.
Okay.
And so I've been rolling for 30 seconds.
Perfect.
John Prescott.
Yes, sir.
Did I pronounce your name right after 50 years?
52 years.
52 years, 1969. Brother, it's great seeing you. I'm honored that you're introducing me on this auspicious occasion, my induction into the Omaha Press Club Journalists of Excellence Hall of Fame manner.
It's a personal and professional privilege to do so.
For me as well, man. For me as well. God, now that's the most serious I've seen you since I've been. Look
That's
at it.
true.
Look
Yeah.
at it.
Well,
Look
we started out, with immediately hugging, and you said, "What about COVID? What about COVID?" And I said something rude about COVID and said, "I get a hug anyway," and so we did.
Bear hug.
Yeah, it's been 52 years, and it seemed like
no gloves, no mask, baby.
Yeah, and it seems like no time at all is passed.
I know.
We just had a
Isn't that
conversation
fascinating?
yesterday. It is fascinating.
Isn't that? Share that with my viewers, man, because this, by the way, is, let me do the opening. I'll make an edit here, but I need to see myself saying this. Ladies and gentlemen, what's the word? I need my zoom out. I digress a little bit, and look at how I need my fro done, but it's all grown. And let me take my sweat towel off and say, good day, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of Japan Journal. I'm your host, Mal Adams, coming to you live from beautiful downtown, not Kakehawa City as I usually do, but Omaha, Nebraska, in the presence of one of my senior colleagues in my career to commemorate the beginning of my 52-year career, which started right here in Omaha, Nebraska at the age of 19. And this guy coming up on our show very soon is the guy who mentored me in many ways that he doesn't know. And I'll be here to pick his brain a little bit. And we're going to hurry up and do this because he's on his third scotch. And let me just put him on right now. How you like? How was that introduction, man?
It was just perfect.
Okay.
We are, of course, at the Omaha Press Club, so we have to test the scotch every once in a while to make sure we're not poisoning anybody. And so I
Least of all ourselves.
I have been doing that just a little bit, just a touch.
See,
I think it's okay.
you
Yeah.
just earned your spot as a regular contributor to the Japan Journal show, my brother, as frequently as you so desire.
But I cannot speak Japanese, but I appreciate
Have I spoken any
culture.
Japanese during any of this so far?
Well, only
That's
when
on
you were,
my Japanese customers who can't understand English.
Yeah, maybe
I'll
when you were
subtitle it.
cursing at me and I was not paying attention.
Well, I've
you know.
done that twice in Japanese. You didn't know it.
No, I didn't. I thought you were having an attack, but you weren't. It's okay. All right.
Listen, man, how do you know me and what do you know of me?
I remember that, for one thing, the Adams family is well known in Omaha, Nebraska. They've been involved with community activities in the structure.
Excuse me, let me interrupt you. It's
Sure.
going to be, it's only the first of three that in this next 30 minutes. But I'd be remiss without pointing the camera to this guy over here.
He's the one who nominated you for the
He's
Hall of
the
Fame.
guy
Yeah.
that is responsible for me being here. Now I got a reason why head and shoulders on you. You're a little bit of a shadow, so come here, man.
That's
I was trying to be out of camera.
No, well, I got
That's past
the
Omaha Press Club
The reason I
president.
decided to interview and mention him now because his left shoulder was all in the frame, and
there you go.
that's why explain. Let's
past-
talk to
past president
Gary
of the Press
Willis.
Club. Gary Willis.
Introduce him for me, John.
He's the past president of the Omaha Press Club and the guy who nominated you for the Hall of Fame. And I said,
Only because I asked him
I was on the
to.
committee with him. I said, I know that guy. I remember him from 52 years ago.
Oh my
I said,
God!
I thought he had disappeared on in some swamp somewhere in Louisiana.
Close.
That did not happen. You went on to fame and fortune, unlike the rest of us. Thank you very much.
A little infamy and misfortune in the mix of all that along the way, right? But
Sure.
what the heck? Who's counting, man? You know, friends that count don't.
So what's up?
The Embassy Bar, man. You reminded me of the name. I could not come up with the Embassy Bar. And you were at KMTV when we were at KETV, and I say
right.
we because there is no solo. It's a collaboration.
And we were both rookies too. I was rookie at
No.
Channel 3,
You
and
were preceding me, did you not?
Not by much.
Really?
No, you started about the same time.
Right.
Yeah.
And so you were KMTV, the rival station across town, but man, like we've come to learn in this business, there are no rivals. The companies are the rivals. We journalists have a union and a bond and a relationship, and every night after the news, you from KMTV and me and Nordberg, Roy Nordberg, shout out Roy, shout out Sue Wolf, shout out Rittner from the Valley, that's his
John
name.
Rittner. John Rittner.
That's his name. We never called him John. Harold Dow and I would say, Rittner from the Valley. That was his name. Harold invented that, man. And boy, he loved that because it was fitting.
Absolutely.
He was not an apologist for being a country boy, man.
The Omaha Press Club has a round bar because the Embassy Club back in 1969-70 had a round bar.
You told
and
me
when they
that.
built the Press Club's celebrating its 50th anniversary this year, and they have a round bar because the Embassy had one way back when, and that's where all the reporters and photographers and nurses from the med center and cops and used to gather and just party together after
Cops
the
and
10 o'clock
nurses, I
news.
remember.
Yeah. And everybody got along, and everybody traded shots, and it was
Stories.
It was just it was a nice.
The real Press
atmosphere.
Club.
It was the real Press Club. Yeah, it was.
That's not a unique phenomenon. In the press clubs that I've been to, you had the Press Club.
Sure.
By the way, we'll get some more illuminated shots. But we're in the Press Club a night or two before the main event.
And that's the round bar right there.
Gary, who John Prescott mentioned, was former president of this
Absolutely is.
organization.
Yeah.
I just learned that when I met you.
but
You didn't tell me that.
No, I
And
didn't.
as I mentioned to John, had I known that last year when this was scheduled to go down, I would have asked for far more things than I'm asking. I knew but he had the power to do it and just didn't let it on to me, right?
We drew the line at 10-pound sacks of M&Ms in your hotel.
Thank you, man. Well, hey, I
We
only
thought that
asked
would
for
be
8
good for
pounds. So congratulations, man. Thank you publicly on this
pleasure.
video.
My pleasure.
And we're going to do your special focus, man.
No, thank you.
I appreciate it, but I could not be remiss by talking about any of this. I'm glad you're here. You brought me here, and I'm not leaving you until I.
Okay. Thank
Wasn't I gripped onto his arm when you met me in the parking lot? Yes, I'm with him.
There was a lot of gripping going on in the parking
there
lot.
was.
But that makes it like parking lots all over the world.
That's what we do in parking lots, man.
I guess
you know,
so,
when
sure.
you meet a guy you haven't seen in 52 years.
Yeah.
So, I'd like to transition here to your career as a journalist. So we started out at KMTV. What's interesting to me was, and you could speak on this, although you had a broadcast background, to me, your strongest suit has always been writing and print. Now, am I right or wrong, or tell me?
I think, there's especially today we see that it's a crossover. People who are good at...
Well, today, but I'm not to interrupt you.
I think it's always been true, even though it may not have been recognized as much in years past.
All right.
But people who can tell stories with words and pictures, that's a talent to be valued. And you can do it for print. You can
But
do
a different
it for
skill set is my
broadcast.
point.
Not all that different. Not as different as you think. Sometimes you have to write shorter for broadcast, and you write longer for print or magazine.
Much shorter.
But you're still telling a story with words and pictures. And that's
Okay.
That's what we've.
I withdraw that comment because you did say pictures, so you're talking still for print, and we're talking video or still or
Exactly. It's words and pictures.
photo fax. You remember
Yeah.
the photo fax?
And, oh God.
Tell the people what a photo fax. I digress here, but we
Photofax
ain't got.
was United Press International in our newsroom.
Sure, ours
Would
too.
send
Everybody.
photos by wire, news pictures, and they came over with a revolving drum,
Yes, they did.
and they produced an electronic image, and you had to keep that wire.
Some with color, right? Basic
So
color.
actually, they colorized them at Channel 7
colorized them.
because Channel 7 did their news in color and used color film.
And we had
and
good-
they're the only ones with color
and
film.
we had
Everybody
high
else
tech.
had
We were
black
high
and white.
tech, baby.
Yeah.
We had top of the line.
Yeah, we were.
And I was proud to be at that
the
network.
way you were at the high tech
I
station.
really was.
Yeah,
Peter
we had black. Yeah, Kiewit owned the
Peter Kiewit
place.
owned the joint, man. And
The guy who built the Eisenhower Tunnel and a whole bunch of things around the world that people would recognize.
right here from Omaha.
Right here from Omaha.
His company grew here in Omaha and became global.
Yep, absolutely did.
And he built Channel 7.
He
and
bought,
I have-
he bought the World Herald. Channel 7 came with
I
it. That's
see.
basically how it
Are you
happened.
serious, really?
That's exactly what happened. Yeah, sure.
Give me that history again. He bought the world.
Well, Kiewit wanted. They were going to sell. The World Herald was going to sell. Been owned by the same family since Gilbert Hitchcock.
Sure.
Put it on, started the thing, and basically, they decided that they wanted to sell the Knight Ridder, which was a national chain, and Peter Kiewit and local folks said, "Nah, I think we want to keep ownership local." So Kiewit bought it and later sold it to his employees. It was employee-owned for years, and then Warren Buffett ended up buying it, and it is now basically operated by a different group chain. The World Herald is.
I thought Buffett still owned it.
Yes, kind of.
Hathaway.
Yeah,
what's the company?
but Berkshire Hathaway.
Yeah. Kind of.
But yeah, it's run
Like he
by,
owns Coca-Cola.
It's
His
run by a
money's
different
behind
company,
it.
a company out of Davenport, Iowa.
Interesting. Great history. Who knows that?
Yeah,
I'm happy to be able to share
Nobody
it.
cares except you and I.
Yeah, well, I'm
By the
gonna
way,
trust me. I'll set it up to make it interesting to my
Do your regular viewers-
unsuspecting subscribers.
Thank you. Do your
This the
subscribers
history of
know
Omaha
that
journalism we're talking.
you were called, speaking of the history of Omaha journalism, that you were known by the nickname Skip back 52 years ago. Hey, Skip, how's it going? And it was,
I knew he was going there.
well, of course you did. Because I knew you when you were Skip. This was before all the fame and fortune of you. You became a great international journalist. and
Oh,
owned,
right.
selling the green tea and everything else you got going for you.
This guy's-
I mean, you're a
God.
legend in more than one country, and that's
Well, and
I'm barely known in Council Bluffs, which is the town across the river in Iowa, by the way.
Alex,
For anybody who doesn't know that.
I'll put subtitles.
Thank you
Trust
very
me on
much.
this.
That's- I
Let them know
appreciate
how
that, yeah.
good of how self-deprecating that was.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not even knowing in Casablanca, brother. You need to get busy.
I do. Yeah, it's
Yes,
true.
you do.
Someday I'm going to get a real
Like
job.
he hasn't had an illustrious career for the past 52 years. Man, you were my mentor in ways you don't know.
Well, yeah, but you were one of those guys that everybody I liked instantly. You just had that infectious, and that's back before the plague when infectious was a good word, or could be. But you had that infectious way of talking to people that you knew that you cared about what people had to say, and I think it's a whole big reason why you've succeeded as much as you have.
That's profound and accurate, brother. I thank you for
people,
recognizing that, but it's
you
the
like
truth,
people
man.
in
You get
general.
it right on the head.
Everybody you talk to in these casts like this, when you were the one I saw when you landed in Chicago, after flying to Omaha through Frankfurt, Germany, to Chicago to get here, whereas most people would have gone to San Francisco, stayed there, and then come back.
God,
Yeah,
is
so-
he writing this report for me or what?
I'm doing your job for you.
Thank
buddy.
you, man.
And
I'm sorry it comes with no pay.
thanks needed here. I'm here for you.
And for the record, I'm not going to be able to pay you for this.
Oh,
but-
no. Wait, the president of the press club promised me that you were going to write me a big...
Past president.
He said you're going to write me a big check. He didn't mean
You
that. He
would-
meant I am a big check, since all of my relatives have come from what is...
Oh, my God. Did you see how smooth that was?
So that's where I got mixed up. I
Jesus.
am a big check. I'm not going to get a big check.
Yeah, like
you go.
Czechoslovakia.
Yeah, well, it's actually Bohemia and part of Austria. When
okay.
my grandparents all came over from that place.
Now, wait a minute. You got to say that a little more slowly because I'm all about cross-cultural communication.
Oh, yeah,
It's my
yeah.
brother on a real tip. And so, and let me share this with you. To preface this is a little serious. You did the piece seeing me stopping African brothers walking through the corridor in
yes.
Frankfurt.
And you thought they were going to Zambia, and I swear to God. the guy
No.
was going to Zaire.
That wasn't the issue. Well, you
Oh, I'm
mentioned
sorry.
Zaire because I identified the country. That was the point of the interview of all the various and sundry ethnic derivations of Africans.
Well,
People say you're African, yeah, but which of the 40 countries am I from that speak their
Kind of
own
like
unique?
being European, for God's sake, what kind of European?
Same thing. Which I made the Czechoslovakia joke.
Exactly.
Okay, but so I'm going there. That's what
They
I'm going.
couldn't
But
even-
give me a minute to set this up.
Czechs and the Slovaks don't even get along. They're separate countries.
See, too much of truth.
All right, sorry.
No.
Go ahead.
You're saying all the. You're answering the
I'm
questions
gonna shut
before
up
I
now.
ask them.
I'm going to
Which
shut
is,
up and let you speak.
See?
I'll just have another little sip of the old scotch.
I'm going to do an interlude here. You see what we're talking about here? We're talking about cross-cultural communications, but we're talking about real hands-on journalists who spend their careers in the communication business. But the overall issue is about America, or even not so much America, but the entire Western world as it relates to demographics, diversity, Black Lives Matter, Czech lives matter. And it's the same metaphor, it's just American racial politics. We got Black Lives Matter, we got We Shall Overcome, we got all kinds of things. I'm sure white immigrant groups have their own like kind of things. Our struggle is different but not unlike the ones, and I'm gonna ask him about his ethnicity and what generation of immigrant he would be from the country that his family emanated. Now, what's your granddaddy? Where is he from?
Both granddaddies came from what is now the Czech Republic.
Mm-hmm.
And they came over around 1905. So we're relatively, the family only goes back that far, barely 120 years. And
Wait a minute, the profundity of that. Did you hear this white boy tell me that his family only goes back that far? Who do we know like that? African-American slaves?
it's something like that. Even if you go to Ancestry, you get back to the point where
It only
if
goes back so far.
Exactly. If the church burned down, you don't know what happened to the records from that and who you were related to. The difference in language makes it very difficult. In Czech, no matter where you're from, you go back as far as you can, and then you try to bring it forward, and it's an interesting process. But it's important to recall, as you mentioned, that we all kind of...
Well, let me just say here, if I may interject, it's important to recall, but it's an experience. But what we're demonstrating by this discussion is that it is a shared experience by all ethnic groups, all of whom are immigrants.
And we should recognize that into a greater extent.
That's what
than
we're
we
doing
do.
right now, brother.
Because the only group that came that wasn't listed as a human being in the Constitution was the folks who was listed as 3/5 of a person.
Well,
And we have to kind of remember that, don't we?
we do, and that's our
that's
people.
why the
That's
truth
an
has to be taught
African-American.
in schools, and not in a way that villainizes anybody, but a way that pays attention to our past, so we can deal with what's going on today and what we want our country to
And
look
what is
like
that
in
we're
the
talking
future.
about in terms of the political nomenclature that
And what we want
it's
our
called
world to look
critical
like in the
race
future.
theory, is it not?
Yeah, because I think there's a lot of people who are afraid it's going to villainize white people,
Yeah,
if you will.
yeah.
And instead, all the proof is in the pudding.
It is.
How are you going to roll it out? I think we ought to tell the truth about our history, and how do we do it in a way that makes it an educational experience and not a blaming
You mean like we
experience.
just did that we're doing now? Because
Well,
I asked
we're
you
work-
about your
we're really
Czechoslovakian
working-
grandfathers, and you gave me the story which shared and exposed the commonality in my story.
Exactly.
That's
Yep,
why I'm saying, and this
pretty
is what
much.
you're saying, and what I've demonstrated to you by this interview is the way it ought to
You
be
and I,
educated.
you have been talking the same language for 52 years, and somebody ought to pay attention to us, don't you think? Wouldn't you say, Skip? I would say that. You should say that. The bartender.
My
over there-
man's over there laughing.
Say hello
Let
to
me
Bill
give the bartender some. This guy.
If you can't say hello to Bill the bartender, then you're just not with it.
Bill the bartender, you thought you weren't going to make the show, did you?
My makeup.
Right up.
Bill kept the place open for us so we could shoot here.
And I-
Not be embarrassed by crowds.
Exactly. And,
Yeah,
and
you know how
speaking
the
of that,
crowds fill
this
in the place.
hopefully I got a few more days here. We're going to do this again, but this is significant. I'll follow up, do another episode. But this one, thank you, man, for your time. I appreciate your
You have
thoughts.
to ask him too on his
My-
name. So I went to school with his
That's
cousin.
right.
Say it again from the top. Ask him about what?
Ask him about his last name.
Prescott.
Yep.
I went to school with his cousin, and his name is Peascotch.
That's exactly right.
Which is more
That was
Balkanish.
the ethnic name, but my father was sent up to Montana to that wing of the family during the Great Depression. And because there were no jobs here locally, graduated from South High in 31.
Okay.
Went out there, and the Montana Peascotches decided in 1946 to anglicize the name to Prescott's. So from my grandfather's, two of the brothers became Prescotts. One of them kept the old Czech name,
right.
but
I'm
thanks to,
losing battery. Go ahead.
anyway, so that's why we became Prescotts. There've only been Prescotts in my clan since 1946. There you go.
Yeah.
Short story.
Short story, but it's more in depth than that. I'm sure we can
Yeah.
make the lessons that would flow from that can be shared. Like I'm saying, isn't that beautiful? What just happened here?
Yeah.
But I'm good, man. I asked the right questions. I've been doing this a
That's
long
why
time, brother.
people take a natural liking to you, because you take a natural liking.
To myself.
Well, that's
Japan Journal, the Internet's #1 English language weekly online cybercast from Japan. Japan Journal with Mal Adams.